Hello everyone and welcome to another installment of Rise Talks. Can I get a great big round of applause for everyone and thank you guys for being here today. So first up, I see some familiar faces over here, and for you guys, welcome back. It is always great to have you here. And for the new guys, thank you so much for coming today, and I promise you we have a lot in store for you guys today. So my name is Alex, I'm from Rise, and I will be your MC for today. So before we start, I would just like to talk a little bit about Rise. So, in case you guys are wondering what we do at Rise is that we are trying to build an inclusive community of entrepreneurs who are supportive and are open about sharing knowledge. So, with all the bickering and all the segmentation we have in the entrepreneurs community, we are taking it upon ourselves to be the bridge that connects everyone together so that entrepreneurs can rise to the occasion. Get it? Sorry, that was just my lame attempt at trying to lighten up the atmosphere. So before I start, I would just like to give a quick shout out to a few people. So behind over there, if you guys look to the back of the hall, we have Aryani from Gula Home Bakery, who has prepared all the tidbits that you guys have. So again, if you guys feel hungry throughout the night, just feel free to take it from her and enjoy it. I promise that you're very good, and you know not why. She has almost 6,000 Instagram followers. So, and she only started this 11 months ago. So it's a testament of how good she is. So again, guys, please go try it out. She needs to finish everything by tonight. Okay, so tonight, also, we have the give and take board over there. It looks surprisingly empty. If you have an opportunity that you guys want to share, just go ahead, write it on a post-it note, stick it over there. So it can be anything for, if let's say you're looking for a developer for a new app, or if you want to share a really great idea and you need people to develop it with you, just write it up, stick it on over there, and let everyone else do the magic, talk and mingle around. So, tonight, also, before we start, another quick shout out to Marco, who, for those of you guys remember, he is our speaker for last month, and he has very graciously come back, so yes, give it up for him. So tonight we will be talking a little bit about e-commerce, and to do so, please give a very, very, very big round of applause for Sidney Ng, Marketing Director of Foodpanda. Hi Sidney. And also joining us is Rafiq Razali, Country General Manager of Groupon. So, e-commerce. So, just think about it, how a few years ago, e-commerce was a relatively foreign topic here in Malaysia. So, it hasn't become as widespread as what it is now. So, if you guys, right now, this day and age, e-commerce, you can get anything from ordering your shirt for tomorrow night's dinner, or you can even buy car accessories online. Also, you can even try buy a house online nowadays. Like, how crazy is that? So all this only happened within the last few years or so. And it's amazing how within such a short period of time, so many things have changed. You have so many different e-commerce websites out there nowadays. For example, you have Groupon, you have Foodpanda, you have all the other sites who are operating on an e-commerce basis. And as much as there are all these big players out there, there are a lot of people who are trying to start out their business using the e-commerce platform. For example, who here buys clothes online? Anyone? Yes, no? I see you, I see you, I see you too. So, one good place for you guys to buy clothes online is you see all these blog stores or you see all these Instagram stores. So there are hundreds, if not thousands of stores which are selling the same things. But if everyone is selling the same thing, how does anyone stand out? If the competition is so stiff, just imagine you as a small business owner and you're trying to start up. How are you going to do so? Therefore, that is why we are talking about e-commerce this month, and we are talking about how your online business cannot be another dead pixel online. So, to kick things off for tonight, I will want to introduce you to our first speaker of tonight. So he is the marketing director of one of the fastest growing food delivery startups in Asia, Foodpanda and Hello Food. So Foodpanda makes ordering food online easy, fast, and fun. As a pioneering team in Foodpanda, Sidney has been doing marketing, business development, partnership, operations, amongst other things since they started 2 years ago. He has also been consulting online and offline clients in marketing and growth hacking. Please give it up for a very big warm of welcome to Sidney Ng.
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me at the back there?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Pretty surprised nobody takes up the beanbag seats. The most fun seats, right? Okay. Okay. Yeah, so Foodpanda. How many of you actually have used Foodpanda before? Not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. So, I mean, if you do not know, Foodpanda is actually a food delivery platform. We've been around for about 2 years. I've been there since they started. Okay, so the topic of my presentation today is e-commerce easy commerce, right? I think a lot of people are thinking that. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people were probably thinking that e-commerce site, just set up a website and people will come. But how far is that true? So a little bit about me. What I think I do. If you do not know who that is, that's Seth Godin. That's what I think I do. But what I actually do is basically deliver food. If you do not know already, Foodpanda is a food delivery platform. We started 2 years ago, as I mentioned earlier. I was there since the start. I left my job in a bank. I used to work for a retail bank here in Malaysia. All of a sudden, Rocket Internet came in. They said that we want to actually start up this project. Really want to join. So I thought, hey, this opportunity don't come twice. Setting up something from scratch, and our competitors have been around for 10 years, and there is only so much of noise that they have made. I mean, not many people know about them. And I noticed that food delivery done by them is actually more expensive. They actually mark up the price of the food. They actually also they also have very, very high delivery rates. So I thought, hey, that's not exactly a food delivery for the average Malaysians. For the delivery fee, you can even buy yourself another meal on your own, because delivery fee, I think it's from 12 ringgit onwards. So we wanted to change that. So that was the basic premise of what we wanted to do. We wanted to be a food delivery for Malaysians. Humble beginnings. Let me be honest, when we first started out, we had less than 10 orders for the first week. Out of the 10 orders, 8 came from our office. So that is the harsh fact of starting out an e-commerce business. I mean, it's not build them and they will come, right? It doesn't happen that way. I remember when we first started, we only had when we first started out, we were actually supposed to be just an aggregator, right? Whereby we just curate restaurants that have their own delivery on our website, and all we do is we just pass the orders to these restaurants. So think of it this way, right? If you have a McDonald's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, all these restaurants, they do their own delivery. So Foodpanda was supposed to be a site that actually just has restaurants that have their own delivery, and all we do is we just pass the orders to these restaurants. But when we started out with only 40 restaurants. I remembered signing the first restaurant. I had to go and convince the restaurant owner that, hey, the website will look something like this. It's not out yet. It will be out in 2 months' time. Your logo will appear here. Your food items will appear here and stuff like that. It was really difficult selling them the whole sandcastle in the air. But we managed to scrape through about 40 odd vendors. And out of the 40 odd vendors, people knew about 10 or 5. So that's part of the reason why most orders came from our office. I remembered also flyering out in the streets when we first started. When we first launched the site, we had 40 odd restaurants. I remember waiting down the Bukit Bintang LRT station and giving out physical flyers to people coming down the train, and half of them telling you no thanks, or half of you not knowing that you're there. They just walk past you. So I know the feeling of being the invisible person. back then. And yeah, I mean, we give out flyers, but it didn't convert, right? Sales didn't go up by 300% by spending 3 hours in the hot sun giving out flyers. So when we first started out, we saw that we only had 40 restaurants. So the idea now was to pivot to actually start doing deliveries. So first we started outsourcing out to another company to actually do the deliveries. We sign up more restaurants that do not have delivery riders, and we got an outsourced rider to do it. So we had crazy distances. People could order from Cheras, and we got food all the way from Bangsa. So that was really crazy. We screwed up like lots of the orders. We had to tell customers that the rider had an accident, and the whole sob story. After 2 weeks, we just felt that this isn't cutting it, because when you outsource out, there is a licensed person that you actually have to liaise with. So you tell them that, hey, please collect the food from restaurant Y and send to this address. And that person will liaise with the rider. And so we did not know like what's happening with the rider. We did not know like where is the rider. Is the rider, in ICU unit somewhere, or is he, watching movies? True story, happened before. Riders that watch movies while we actually send them orders, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, we felt that the only way to do it is actually to roll up your sleeves and do it yourselves. So we started hiring riders on our own. So that's why I was saying that end of the day, we end up doing deliveries, and that's what I do. And yeah, true story, we actually had instances where food is actually late, and I actually personally went to the office, went to the customer's house to actually deliver the food. I was quite lucky they did not throw any shoes or any, any vases or any stuff like that at me when I delivered the food. Because as they say, a hungry customer is an angry customer. So it was really tough during the first 1 year. So I'm actually happy to announce that after the 1 year and a half, we had to actually create the right team to instill the whole company culture and to ensure that the delivery team is up to notch, as to what we have today. So I'm proud to say that up to today, at least 99% of all orders actually go through without any hitches. So yes, does e-commerce equals to easy commerce? I think most of you would think that it's as easy as having traffic, going to a website, and then people purchasing, right? So just like a physical shop, right? Your website is like a shop. Traffic will be people surrounding the area. They happen to stumble upon your shop and they make a purchase. Well, it's not as easy as that. The first myth will be traffic is actually very expensive. It's expensive, you actually pay for traffic directly or indirectly through either costs by advertisements or by effort by doing SEO, getting partnerships and stuff. And yeah, it's not cheap at all. We have SEO, content, SEM, AdWords, PR, ads, partnerships, tie-ups. So getting in the initial traffic is not a walk in the park. Conversions are not instant like ramen or instant noodles. So it's not necessary that the person goes to your site, they actually love your product and says that they'll buy it straight away, right? So we need to do lots of A/B testing and also building a tribe. What I mean by building the tribe is actually getting people to trust the website. But I think for e-commerce, especially for Malaysia, I think there's still some form of mistrust. People are still a bit afraid to shop online. So when we first started out 2 years ago, we only operated on cash on delivery. So you can only purchase online, and when we actually deliver to you, pay it on the spot, cash on delivery. So imagine we're an e-commerce company, but when we started off, you can't pay online, right? Makes no sense altogether. But on the flip side, I think that was good. It built up customers' trust in the site and in the service, and they started to trust us and like us. And once we started payments online, our sales actually just got up again. So the relationship doesn't end at the end of purchase, right? At the end of purchase, there's still after sales, there's still support, there's still deliverables, and there's still refunds. There's still the whole shebang that comes together with the purchase. So, especially for us in delivery, logistics isn't very easy. You have things like weather conditions, right? If it's raining, we can't ask the rider to actually brace the rain and get your food wet and stuff like that. There are also times where when our rider reaches the restaurant, the item is not ready, so he has to wait for the kitchen to actually prepare the food. And obviously, I mean, we are dealing with really hungry customers, so they tend to be a bit jumpy. So even though if it's raining, they will still say that, why are you still not delivering it to me? So they would prefer the kway teow to be a kway teow basah at the end. So I mean, before you actually start your website, I usually sort of advise startups to actually look into these factors to consider. The first thing will be a myth that, make it and they will come. As I mentioned earlier, like when we started off, I mean, out of 10 orders, 8 came from our office. So it's not very straightforward. I mean, there is no such thing as, you make your site and people will definitely come and they will love you and they will buy from you. That's totally not true. Know what business you're actually in, right? What actually do you do? What is the core of your business? If you ask me, what is Foodpanda? Do we just do food delivery? I would say that the answer is no. Simply because if you talk about food delivery, you have people like Domino's, you have people like Pizza Hut, they do deliveries as well. So what makes us stand out is that we are actually a convenience service provider, right? We also deliver for people like TGI Fridays, right? People that you think would not offer deliveries, for Starbucks, for Cha Time, Gongcha, these brands that you would never think would actually get to be delivered to your doorstep, we actually offer that. We've also started offering stuff like 7-Eleven, so convenience good items that we actually deliver to your doorstep. Also, during the Ramadan month, we have also started the Bazaar Ramadan, where we got popular Bazaar Ramadan items like satay. What else? You have satay, you have your murtabak and stuff to be delivered as well. And yeah, we actually do get orders even up to today for even 7-Eleven and street food. So we actually moving more into a convenience model. So we're actually looking to partnering up with more people, whatever items you can actually get for convenience, we can actually deliver since we already have the riders in place. Be prepared to spend on advertising, right? And marketing to get the first 10,000 users. I think this is really vital because if you're not prepared to spend advertising, no one knows about you, you would basically not make any sales. End of the day, that's what's important, making the sale and keeping these customers. Finally, Facebook fans does not equal users or buyers. So you might see that you have 1 million fans, but how many of those million fans would actually buy from you? End of the day, I would think that the best strategy is actually to get them on Facebook, to know your brand, to sign up for your newsletter, and from there to actually engage them via a newsletter rather than on Facebook. Simply because Facebook is now actually limiting the reach that that actually goes out. I mean, in terms of posts, let's just say you have 1 million fans, you probably can only reach 200, 300 unless you advertise on Facebook. So I don't blame Facebook. I mean, it's how they actually monetize the business. But I mean, as a startup that's actually starting out, I think it's vital to actually capture information as early as you can. So Instagram, I mean, it's a really good model to get people to know about you. But how do you engage them further? How do you get them to buy again from you? That will be via email. So getting their email addresses, finding out basic demographic information would be vital. So such as, if I were to start, I'll start Foodpanda again, I'll probably get information like their areas, diet preferences. Do you prefer halal food, non-halal food, or vegetarian, right? So that way I can actually segment the customer base to actually know what restaurants to actually cater to you. And also I will know which area would have more requests. So that when I launch in day one, I would actually get customers already. So let's just say I know that there are 100 people from Bangsa that are looking for non-halal food. Then I know exactly what restaurants to target and where to actually start opening up new areas. So, if you're still insistent that you want to start an e-commerce business, right, when the rubber hits the road, it's actually not just online. As I mentioned earlier, it's about also getting the buyer intent. Because like food delivery is a new concept, I'm quite sure that just now when I asked like, how many of you actually order food online, there were so little hands raised up. So actually getting people to think that it's actually possible to actually get food ordered is the first hurdle. So getting the buyer intent to actually get them to actually type food delivery KL, food delivery Malaysia, that will be the first hurdle that we need to cross. So that involves a lot of offline marketing. So being in magazines, in newspapers, engaging with bloggers and reaching out to lots of offline channels to get them to know this. So what we have been doing is we have also been in restaurants, right? If you look at restaurants in that Foodpanda serves, you would see buntings and perhaps standees in their outlets to tell them that food from that restaurant can be delivered by Foodpanda. Strategic partnerships, right? Reaching out to other startups or other companies with bigger pools of customers. So a good example would be Groupon. When we started out 2 years earlier, I think we also worked with Groupon briefly to actually get in more new customers. So that's an excellent way to outreach new customers. So a lot of new restaurants that come in, even if they were to ask us what is the best way to get more people to know about us, we will obviously recommend places like Groupon and stuff for them to actually get a wider reach, right? Engagement, as I mentioned earlier, emails and app push. So we started out 2 years earlier with just a website. We just started having an app somewhere, I think a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago. I think a year ago. And we actually noticed that app users are more sticky in terms of reordering. So I think most of our orders, currently about 40% come from mobile and from the app. So this tells us a lot about how people actually consume data at the moment. I think gone are the days where people actually buy online just via the laptop. I think a lot of people are now on the go, so a lot of people actually search via their smartphones. So we find that engaging via emails, when you actually push emails to their inboxes and they open up the emails and shop directly from there, and also via app pushes, is actually very, very vital. Also, for a startup, you should also know the lifetime customer costs, like how much would the customer be worth to you for the entire lifetime. And from there, you would know what would acquisition cost be, how much are you willing to pay to actually get the customer on board your website. So these are the vital information you would actually need to figure out before you actually start. So I think in just a few words on how not to be a dead pixel. First, validate before you create. So as I mentioned earlier, it's not always what you want, right? You would think that this is the best product ever, but if nobody wants it, nobody is willing to pay for the product or service, you just have a hobby, you don't have a business, because that's not making you money. Secondly, continuously test, right? Always test, there will always be something better. Innovate, so we're always looking for different ways to innovate, to excite our customers more, to innovate our services, getting in more different products and services on our website. So even pastries or cakes, we don't mind delivering as well. Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese word for continuously improving. So everyone wants to know how do we actually get on top. The only way to get on top is to innovate and to constantly improve products and services and the website. Hire great talent. So good talent goes a long way. I'm proud to say that most of the core members of the Foodpanda team are still with us even today, and that has been really, really, really helpful. And never settle, right? I think as a startup, you need to keep hustling and not to settle with just what you have. Like even if we are the fastest growing, we are still not settling. We still think that we have a lot more to grow, a lot more to innovate, and there's a lot of potential because 80% of you don't order food online, so that is potential customers for us. I'll be really scared if all of you actually order online food before, then I'll be afraid because there'll be no more market to play with. But since most of you have not ordered online, that's really a good sign for us. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. That's my email address, and even after this, you can always ask questions after the event. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, so thank you, Sidney, so much for your speech just now. And one really good thing about just now is that it demonstrates to you guys like how, as a startup, right, like things may seem all so nice, so rosy, so glamorous. I'm a startup, but then again, you actually need to get down dirty and do the work, because if you don't do it, no one will. So, again, another quick shout out. If you guys look behind to the right, we have Manchester Brownies here with brownies. So again, guys, please, we've gone through so much to get you guys our food vendors for tonight. So it's dessert. Who doesn't love dessert? So guys, please go have some. Okay, so every month under RISE, we have another initiative called This Is Not a Book Club. So I actually see a few familiar faces here that attended our previous book clubs and they're here today. So what This Is Not a Book Club is about, it's actually a program designed for people who want to read more about entrepreneurship or business books, but they simply don't have the time to do so. So good news for you guys, we have our panel of avid book reviewers who will be reviewing all these books and will be sharing with you guys the key takeaways from it. So here to present on 4-Hour Work Week, please give it up for KL.
Hello. How's everyone doing tonight? You all look a little bit sleepy from too much food from dinner just now. I need everyone to say hello back to me, at least to make me wake up as well. Hello. Just a little bit more. I'm very tired from work. Alright, fine. Yeah, do make sure you go eat the brownies at the back later, even though they're not the special type. It'll still make you really happy. There's a lot of sugar in it. Okay, so not a book club, right? I'm going to be presenting on a 4-Hour Work Week. It's a book by Timothy Ferriss. Anybody read the book or heard about it before? Okay, a couple people. Right, but essentially what I'm sharing with you today is not so much on how to achieve working only 4 hours a week, but more so to show you how to take away a few efficient tips and tricks to work less, basically. So 4-Hour Work Week. Okay, it's an ambitious book that focuses on cutting down your 40-hour work week to only 4 hours. But actually, how the book's title came about is that the author actually Google tested for a couple different titles, and one of them includes how to make money by selling drugs or something. But this one came out the best. So he actually did not work that little. I mean, eventually at some point maybe, but it's just an attractive title. There's 4 main chunks for this book. DEAL is the acronym that the author uses. So DEAL. D stands for definition. So right now I want you to spend 2 minutes defining your dream, or if you don't really know what it is, just whatever you're really enthusiastic about, just like playing your dog or playing video games, whatever it is. And if it wasn't for the things that you had to do right now, that you're responsible for, what would you be doing? And then, so has anyone thought of anything yet? I'm sure everyone here in this room is here because they're highly motivated, capable people who want to, improve your online business and make $1 million eventually. So, anyone want to share their dream? You get free brownies at the back. Come on, guys. All right. So, I guess for me, my dream would be eventually to inspire 1 million people. Eventually, probably not right now. I'll probably inspire like 10 people. But so now spend another 5 minutes and define your worst nightmare, basically, like your worst possible scenario. Would you be eating just like tuna and bread every day? for the next like 1 year. And even if you do though, wouldn't it be worth it if it could help you to lead you to achieve whatever you really wanted to do? So the question is really like, is it worth really so bad that it's worth giving up your dream? Fancy pictures to make you dream about stuff. So according to the book, the author says that what truly is holding us back is the fear of failure. Because if you think about it, if you have all these dreams, like you want to try dancing, play the guitar, rap, or I don't know, start your own dog cafe or something, one of the main reasons that will hold you back is because you're not sure that you're going to succeed like 100%. Because if I told you anything you do today, you would succeed 100%, why would you not do it then, right? Like if you saw like that cute girl, guy walking past, and you know that if you talk to her, 100%, somewhere down the line, she's gonna marry you and become your wife and love you forever. Why wouldn't you? Right. So, moving on, E is for elimination. So here I'm just gonna give you guys a few pointers to eliminate for your work, whether it be your own business or for your just normal 9-to-5 job or flipping burgers, whatever it is. Stop all multitasking right now. Unless you're one of those crazy, talented people who can do 10 things at a time. You can't really take a shower and read a book and brush your teeth and I don't know, shave. You're gonna get hurt. I've tried. Don't ever go into a meeting without an agenda, because some people just talk on and on about nothing, which is really a time killer. And also, if you can, try to have a 1-week media fast. So, I mean, you really don't need to know the news of every single day. If there's something really important, like a tsunami or, like the World War III happened, someone will tell you about it. Like when you walk past the street, your colleagues, your family, someone will tell you. And things to do is to make your to-do list before the end of today, for tomorrow. It helps. I've tried it. And also, the most important point here actually is to avoid all forms of interruption. So what that means is if you're working on coding something really intensely, or designing something, or even just finishing up an important like Excel file or document, email, whatever, do not let anyone interrupt you, even your boss, unless he says like, I'm gonna fire you, then go help your boss. And more stuff for elimination. Okay, so actually there's two principles which are real principles. It's not made up. It's economic principles that I want to share with you. The first one is called the 80-20 rule. Not sure if any of you heard of that. Has anyone heard of this rule? Show of hands, maybe? All right, a lot of people. Okay, so basically, the rule states that 20% of your profits come from 80%. Wait, that's not right. Sorry. 80% of your profits come from 20% of your customers, for example, or let's say Apple's product, right? 80% of their profits come from 20% of their products. So like maybe the iPhone and a few other things. And so how this works is it actually applies to a lot of other things, such as 80% results equals to, 80% results from 20% of your effort and time. 80% of consequences from 20% of causes. It's not like, the 80% of stuff you do. It's that one stupid mistake that screws you up forever, the rest of your life, sort of, right? If you think about it. So the key takeaway here for your own business is that to identify the things that are really important, such as 20% of your customers, who make 80% of your profits, and then focus on them while executing it within a compressed time frame. And applies to advertising as well. If you look at a bunch of Facebook ads or whatever ads you're buying, just look for the ones that perform the best and eliminate the rest, because you really don't need to pay out money to waste money on your other ads if you know what are the top ads that gets you all the hits, gets you all the buys and whatnot. There you go. So that's elimination. The next law is actually Parkinson's law. So it basically states that work expands to fill out the time available. So if I told you to just, clean my 1 centimeter table, and I give you 5 hours, you're gonna take 5 hours to do it. Or if I tell you to help me send a mail and give you like 2 days, you'll take 2 whole days to do it. So essentially what you wanna do is reduce the amount of time, or just cut down your own deadlines, your own timelines, so that You focus on finishing work in the actual real required time for efficiency purposes. And 2 points, as you can see from the slide, is that doing something unimportant does not make it important. So if you really shine your shoes, that's only so shine. It can only get so shiny. You can't get any shinier. It's just shining your shoes. And requiring a lot of time does not make a task important. So to combine both of the laws, what you would do is you want to identify the things that make the biggest difference and do it in the most minimal time frame possible. So just do less to accomplish more, because a lot of times you find yourself doing a ton of things at once, and that's not going to get you anywhere, because in the end, you don't even have one single task completed. You're just stuck somewhere in between. And when you have limited time, it's not actually a bad thing, because it creates pressure, and pressure, once again, is not a bad thing. It actually pushes you to focus on execution and then getting out the bare essentials instead of just going over and over and over again on the same thing. You're just changing like the pink to a lighter shade of pink or the blue to a darker shade of blue, whatever. The next point I have is automation, A for automation. And if you're wondering what happened to all the fancy pictures, it's because I used the elimination method. I figure you guys don't need fancy pictures to keep yourselves awake. So that's why the background is white. And also because I'm a little bit lazy. Outsourcing. Right, okay, so actually the author really believes in outsourcing. And well, it has to get in here, I guess. But the ground rule is that if you want to outsource something, it must require a lot of time to be accomplished, and you must define it in detail to whoever you're outsourcing it to. Because if you leave out one small detail, then it'll be all just like a waste of time and for no reason. And Superhands is actually a Malaysian-based started virtual assistant. There's a bunch of others in India, Philippines, even in the US. There's just different prices, different capabilities. And now I'm just going to show you a list of things that your virtual assistant can do for you. A little bit small, but bear with me, sorry. Scheduling interviews and meetings, web research, following up appointments, setting up your dates, online purchases, creation of legal documents, website maintenance, monitoring your forums, posting job vacancies, document creation, proofreading, research, updating database, invoicing, so everything. So the next point after automation, we have liberation. So we have become a sort of reactive society that we feel really satisfied from replying to emails and requests. So what the tip here, the author tells you, is that you want to check your email twice a day at 11 a.m. and the end of the day. And this is because you don't want to focus all your energy in the morning where your brain and whatever is the freshest to be productive on emails. You want to be productive on actual work. All right. So what is the dog doing in this picture? He wants to jump, but he's just staring at it because of the fear of failure. Fear of failure. So there will never be a perfect time. So don't wait to start or do something. Just do it right now. If you had a New Year's resolution to learn how to play the guitar, or to start your own business, start your own blog, or start just anything in general, or finally ask your crush out that you've been crushing on for 5 years, don't wait anymore. Just do it now, like right after this. And just jump headed safely. That's all I have. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, KL. So I see you guys behind there enjoying. How's the food? Like, come on, shout out some feedback. Is it good? Great. So you heard it from them. So for the rest of you guys, again, if you want something to buy, please feel free, go ahead, grab some snacks from our vendors behind. Once again, we have Manchester brownies with 3 flavors of brownies. PS, go try the salted caramel one. That one is really good. And then we have Ariani with all her different types of pastries. So please, again, go try some. So, once you guys are done settling with the food, I would like to introduce you guys to the next speaker. Whoa! Okay, so just a quick heads up about our next speaker. So, as mentioned, our next speaker is from Groupon, and he is a first class honors graduate in actuarial science from Pennsylvania State University in US. So, crunching numbers and analyzing figures are an everyday affair for Rafiq. So, he is currently the country general manager for Groupon Malaysia, and he brings a wealth of experience in business development, having worked with multinational companies here and in the US. So Rafiq is a core member of Groupon Malaysia team since he joined in 2011. He has been an influential figure in overseeing the implementation of some of Groupon's most successful product offerings, such as the widely popular Groupon National Segment deals. Prior to joining Groupon Malaysia, Rafiq has extended his international and local experience in Maxis Berhad corporate strategy department. Ladies and gentlemen, again, once you guys are done with the brownies at the back, I know you're good, but please, once you're done, just come back to your seats and let's give it up for Rafiq Razali.
I'll just wait for like 3 minutes for everyone to eat, right? Is that right? Okay, right before I start, I'd just like to just tell you guys what I'm planning to do for today. So I'll run through some really boring numbers about Groupon, first, and after that, I'll just perhaps share a bit of experience for me, moving from hardcore corporate organization like Maxis to a startup, fast-growing e-commerce organization like Groupon. I think some of you guys might want maybe thinking of that too, right? I think after that, I've been thinking a lot about what do I want to present today, and to be honest, I don't think I know exactly what you guys want, so I'll just leave it more to a Q&A question, and I think we'll save like the last 6-7 minutes of the time slot that we have to just get you guys to ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer whatever you guys have. All right? Before I start, just show of hands. How many of you have heard or subscribed to Groupon or have bought on Groupon? Thank you, and I'm so sorry for spamming your mailbox with all our emails. So, just to give a quick update of where we are right now. So I think Groupon is like a multinational corporation. We're in 48 countries worldwide. And in Malaysia, we have now close to about 2.8 million subscribers in Malaysia alone. We're one of the leading online retail e-commerce platforms in Malaysia. And we're facing to grow close to 250 million ringgit in sales this year alone. We have operations in 8 states, and we have over 4,000 active deals available on our site. So every time you come to our site right now, there's like a bunch of deals you can choose from. I think one thing that's pretty cool that we are seeing now, especially in the Malaysian market, is the rise of mobile. So when we first started off, 90% of our sales and about 95% of the traffic actually goes to the desktop or your laptop or computers in general. But I think as of now, as of today, it's really, we are more of a mobile organization, as in 60% of our site traffic or traffic to Groupon comes from mobile, and about 35% of our sales actually comes from mobile as well. So I think more and more people are getting comfortable purchasing in their mobile phones. I think we don't see these trends going down. In fact, it should accelerate over the next year or so. So I think one key takeaway that I want to share is that even for Groupon, we want to be like a mobile-first organization. I think what we're trying to do right now is to optimize our operations and our site to be more, mobile-centric versus, desktop-centric, which is what we used to be. Yeah, so I think that's all our boring stuff about Groupon. I'll just dismiss here then. So I'd just like to share more about, my journey from a hardcore corporate like Maxis and how it was for me to join, a startup environment and really, see and experience it over the past few years or so. So I joined Maxis for 4 years. It was my first job. So I joined like, as a management trainee and I moved up the ranks or moved teams and whatnot to eventually land a role in corporate planning. So planning is like high level stuff. You think about the long-term strategy of the business and you think. I thought I was very smart. Can plan for Maxis. Okay lah, and I can work very fast. And then Groupon came calling. So I joined Groupon. I thought I can just go in and do a pretty good job from the beginning. But I was extremely wrong. So I think the first month in Groupon, I swear to God, I thought I was going to be fired because that's how much I struggled to actually adapt to the pace of e-commerce in the beginning. So I think the first lesson that I learned is that if you think you're fast, like e-commerce is faster. The speed of operations in e-commerce organizations is faster than lightning. And I think it's really how fast can you adapt. It's really a matter of how fast can you prioritize and really understand what you need to do first, what's important and what's urgent, and really focus on the most important things to start up whatever business that you want to start. So an example would be I was just having a conversation with Joel in my first week, I think. So Joel's the founder of Groupon Malaysia, and he was, we were discussing what some stuff we're going to do to the site, some deal structure we want to implement, and I told him, okay, I'll get it done for you by when you want to get me. And Joel asked me, so when can you get this for me? And I told him it was a Wednesday. I told him I'll get it to you on Friday morning, and I thought it was like really awesome because who can turn around in like 1 day and a half, right? Most people can't. And then he just looked at me and said, no man, I want it in the next half an hour. So I think that's the kind of speed that e-commerce operates in, and I thought it's impossible to get this kind of stuff done in half an hour. But I think what you need to do, or when you have, based on the book review earlier as well, is really if you compress the time very quickly, and if you need to understand that I need to get this done within half an hour, you'll figure out a way to do it. And then you will eliminate all the, whatever language bullshit that goes along the way, and really focus on what needs to be done to get that particular task done. And eventually, I had to unlearn whatever I learned in Maxis, and start from scratch, and really, embrace what the e-commerce is all about. And that's how I was able to cope eventually, and thankfully not be fired, right? So I think that the second thing that I realized in my first few months in a startup organization would be, great people make great companies. So I think if you really believe that one or two really smart people can just start up a company and just grow it. I mean, most stories happen that way, but I think eventually it's like as you scale, as you hire more people, it's really how you're able to get everybody on the same page and how everyone works together really as a whole to really grow the organization. So we are in Groupon, we were very strict with the hiring. Our ratio of interviews to hire goes from like 1 to 10. So for every one hire that we make, we'll interview 10 people for the position. And I think to have about the 200 people that we have in Groupon right now, I think we've interviewed close to over 1,000 people in the past 3 years. So I think it's really important that we get only people who have basically two things, right? Firstly, they need to have the skill sets required to do the job. So if you don't have the skill sets, then you can't do the job, then they're probably not fit for the role. And secondly, they need to have the mindset to do the job. So it's the culture fit. So while you have the skill set fit, you might not have the culture fit. If the guy's really smart, can work really well, but it's maybe a bit slow, doesn't prioritize well, or doesn't work well with people, then maybe that person is not right for the organization. So it's really to understand these two things. Does the person have the skill set required, and does the person fit into the culture that you want to inculcate in your organization? I think once you pass the check or you check both boxes, and eventually that person should be able to be a great teammate for yourselves. I think the last hurdle in terms of a corporate structure would be a really sorry, it was just in my mind 5 seconds ago. Just left me. I haven't eaten dinner, so I think it's like. Let me have a drink. So while I'm, trying to think about it, what do you guys also, if possible, think about the questions that you want to know? It can be about Groupon, it can be about how we scale the organization, it can be about the e-commerce industry, or whatever questions you guys have. I think we'll just open up for a quick Q&A after this. If that's alright. Okay. So the last one actually is really. Sometimes you all think that we know stuff, right? But I think the fact is that the only way you'll be able to know what you want to do, where you need to be in e-commerce, is to try. So we have this culture called a why not culture when we first started off. And why not simply means that, if you don't know anything, we'll just try it out because, why not? So I think because of this particular culture, we've been able to expand our deal breadth and, the kind of deals that we're able to feature on Groupon. We've been able to really try out new things and really understand what our customers really want instead of thinking we know what our customers want, but actually we don't. So I think an example would be, one of our biggest marketing activities that when we first did or when we first started off was actually to run like a proposal on the Groupon website itself. So basically, this guy wrote in and said, "Hey man, my fiance or my girlfriend's a massive Groupon fan. Checks her email every morning. So if possible, can I sell myself to my girlfriend and propose to her via your email?" So initially we thought that's crazy. Well, why would we do this? It's like poor for branding, blah 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 blah. But someone just said, "Hey, why not just give it a shot? Maybe it's a nice thing to do anyway, and maybe it has the potential to go viral." And it actually did. So we decided to do it. We called the guy for a photo shoot, and we actually wrote a deal about him for him to sort of like sell himself to his girlfriend. And I think the very next day when we sent the email out, that was when he actually proposed. When the girlfriend opened the email, she was shocked, and there he was with his ring. So thankfully she said yes. And I think they're now married, but happily with the 2 kids. So which is really good. But I think the impact of that was massive. That deal alone had close to 20,000 page views, and that is this huge amount of page views to get in a matter of 1 week. And I think that particular deal alone was plastered all over the media. So it was written, it was appeared in multiple newspapers, multiple media outlets, and I think that really helped build our brand in the beginning to position ourselves as a pretty fun organization and to get people to know more about us as well. And I think it wouldn't have happened if we didn't try. I think that's like one of the things that has really helped us grow to be where we are today. Just keep trying new stuff. I think if you look at Groupon now, we sell whatever we can sell, like kitchen sinks and stuff. We sell that as well. And I think recently we even tried a pretty crazy deal. Like we're actually selling like burial grounds. Like you can buy this kubo, like the burial ground. But you should buy that from Groupon as well. So we do anything, we do everything, and I think that's the only way we're able to learn. I don't know what has a market, what doesn't have a market, and really know what should we continue to do to grow our business even further. So to summarize, the first thing is really, it's really fast in e-commerce. So you have to learn how to prioritize. Second portion of it is that great people make great companies, and it's really how you're able to surround yourself with awesome people. That can really help you grow your business even further. And lastly, don't be afraid to try. I think the only way for you to know certain things is to actually try. All right. So, questions? Later. Oh, there's a Q&A later. Okay, cool. So I guess we'll save the Q&A for later, but please feel free to ask me anything. I've been in e-commerce for 3 years. I've seen it, grow and also change within a matter of 3 years alone. I think I'm more than happy to answer any one of the questions that you have. All right? Thanks.
Thank you, Rafiq. So, again, can you guys hear me? Yes? Alright. So, again, in Rise, we like to keep things casual and come out with new things every month. So, this month, we are actually introducing something new, and it is called #BossCakap. You guys see it here. So, what is BossCakap? So, it is the key takeaways from all your presentations. So, for you guys, can you just give the crowd your best piece of advice which is related to succeeding in e-commerce? It's in under 15 words. In under 15 words is your best piece of advice. So, do you want to start with Rafiq?
I'm not repeating myself, but really, don't be afraid to try.
Okay, 5 words.
I think I've summarized in my last slide, but I think it will be innovate, try, and Kaizen.
Alright, thank you guys. Again, we know that you guys have a lot of questions that you guys want to ask them. So for now, we are opening the floor to question and answer sessions. So because we have a lot of people over here, can we keep it at one question per person so that everyone gets a chance to ask their question? So does anyone want to start? Yeah.
Question for both of you. What digital marketing and offline marketing techniques were the most successful for both your platforms?
Guess since the mic is here, I'll start. Offline, right? Digital and offline. I guess for us, digital, as I mentioned earlier, emails work very well for us. App pushes also work very well for us because it goes directly to the customer. Offline partnerships, right? Partnerships with telco companies, partnerships with Groupon also went pretty okay. And also partnerships with restaurants to actually get the brand name out there.
So I think it's like you have to do all forms of marketing to really understand, to really capture the majority of your customer base and really segment your funds based on the ROI of each segment. But if I can just name one thing that we did that was really awesome, was in 2011 we actually had a partnership with Memento. So I believe in partnerships. I believe that when your brand is small, it's great to leverage off of a bigger brand and really utilize that particular partnership to catapult yourself up further. So one thing we did in 2011 was that we launched Memento exclusive deals. So basically we had deals where we give additional 10% off to all Memento customers. And in return, that deal will be featured on the Memento website. So Memento website is actually the top 10 most visited website in Malaysia. Number 1 most visited website, or a local website in Malaysia. So they get tons of traffic, and it's something that we don't have in Groupon. I think via that partnership alone, within one month after launch, our subscriber base grew from 350,000 people to 600,000 people in just 1 month. And I think that was really one of the most awesome things that we did when we first started off.
Any other questions? Katrina?
Hi, this is for Mr. Rafiq, Mr. Groupon. For merchant deals, now I know that in the market, the merchant have to sell at 50%. After that, after they sell their product for 50% discount, and then they still cut some percentage to Groupon. I think that range is about 20% for that product they sell online. So actually, the product at the end, merchant not making money. So I do not know how many of you really got deal with Groupon. So what is the future trend? Do you plan to bring down the commission rate or for the merchant? Thank you.
So I think on that is like, I'll just state this one fact first. 99% of merchants that feature in Groupon always come back for the second, third, and fourth feature. So I think that's proof that they see value from Groupon. I think if you look at our business model maybe 3 years ago, we were brutal back then. We tell merchants, you get a discount like 70%. And after you discount 70%, I'll take half of whatever we sell, right? So I think that's what we used to do. And we were highly profitable back then. But I think we realized eventually that that's not a sustainable model to work on. And now when we actually call our salespeople, sales consultants, because that's really what they do. They really understand what businesses do, and they really get to understand what our merchants, how their cost structure looks like, and really structure a deal that makes sense for the merchant, the customer, and also us. I think right now our commissions vary really. Some merchants will charge a lot, some merchants will charge little. I think what we have grown to learn over the past 3 years or so is to really understand, for specific segments or specific categories, there's certain levels of margins that they're playing with, and we know exactly what kind of discounts and what kind of margins we can charge. They can give, or they can make the merchant profitable, make the customer see value in the deal, and also leave some profits for us as well. I think that's the level of what we're operating right now. But that kind of model was maybe 3 years ago, which we rarely do anymore.
they are not actually hooked onto the online thingy. So it will be most of the time.
Sorry, can you speak? Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time it will be difficult for you to like get them online and then synchronize everything with the, whatever you are posting and then whatever they are offering. Like let's say synchronizing a holiday, or for that matter, whatever the time they won't be working. So the customer will be booking it, but it would not be available. The merchant would not be available. How are you handling it? How are you synchronizing everything, whatever you're posting on your websites or apps with your merchants? This is because e-commerce being very, like you said, it has to happen quickly, faster. So how are you ensuring that it is dynamic and then all the time it is synchronized with your merchants and then customers get the actual data and then they are not disappointed with whatever they book. This question is for both of you, I mean, it's not one of you. I would like to hear from both of you.
Very good question. I think for us especially, we have restaurants. So I think I'll just explain the mechanics of how is it like for a person ordering food online, right? So you actually go to a website, you choose your area. So let's just say we're in KL and you choose, let's just say KL Central. We will display a list of restaurants delivering to KL Central. You choose the restaurant you want to actually get food delivered from, and we will display like the whole menu items in the from the restaurant. Then you select the items, you key in your address, and within an hour we get the food delivered to you. Yeah, I mean it's very true that things need to be very fast because by the time you actually order to the time you actually get the food, we actually promise 1 hour. If there's a delay, we actually give a call. So it's not so straightforward for us because there are times where we actually get restaurants that probably run out of items. So I mean, trust me, we actually had I think one point where one of the restaurants that served chicken rice ran out of chicken rice. So quite ironic. And we had to call the customer to just tell the customer that the restaurant ran out of that particular item. Would you want to actually reorder from the same merchant but from a different item or from a different restaurant? So that's how we mitigate. So for us, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We call the customers and we get it sorted there and then do the deliveries.
So you did a customer care service for handling both merchants and the customer.
Correct.
All the time.
Yep.
Keep it dynamic.
Yeah. So I mean, it's costing us. I mean, we actually hire quite a lot of customer service people. So yeah, so manpower. I mean, it's part of the whole experience, right? Because I mean, to us, it's, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't end with just the purchase. After purchase, I mean, there is lots of after sales customer service to ensure that customers have a good experience. Because for us in Foodpanda, we want to recreate the whole restaurant dining experience in your own home, in your own workplace, right? So, yeah.
Do you educate your merchants and keep some systems in place with them? I mean, so that it is synchronized with whatever you are.
We have that. I mean, but at the moment, it's still a bit archaic in the sense that, let's say the restaurant has run out of a certain item, they inform us and we change it on our end. But I mean, changes are actually very fast. Within a few minutes, we can actually just change the item. It's just usually the restaurant not informing us that either they are closed for the day, etc. So, yeah, we need to do it manually at the moment.
So I think on like a team structure perspective, very similarly, we have a sales team that just closes all the deals with the merchants. But after that, we have a post-sales team that handles all merchant inquiries and does the synchronization work between the merchant and Groupon as a whole. And I think that translates to our editorial team that does the write-up and the pictures and whatever, so that the deal is presented in the most ideal fashion to our customers. And eventually, we also have a customer service team that handles all customer feedbacks and requests as well. So I think one thing that we realize is that in order to make sure that merchants deliver what they promise, because they can tell us or sell whatever online, but whatever happens later, we're very little control over it. Is really to have a very good feedback loop and to really have a good conversation before we even strike the deal itself. Because ultimately, if the merchant understands the concept of e-commerce, understands that it's actually a sales funnel that can generate more sales in the future, they'll treat this quite seriously. And I think the feedback loop has to happen as well. So within our system, And whenever a customer goes and redeems a voucher at a restaurant, let's say, after the voucher is redeemed, what the merchant has to do is to key in the voucher code into our web-based system. And once that happens, we actually send a survey up to the customer to say, hey, how was your experience like with this merchant? And for customers or merchants that generate a positive rating of more than 80%, then we have special benefits for them. So we explain this to them from the beginning, just to incentivize them to treat our customers a lot better. And I think that has gone a long way to ensure that our merchants start to deliver as promised as well.
Hey guys, this is Sharif and I run a mobile app development studio. So, by the way, Sidney, that problem you have with inventory, I might have a solution that can resolve that, so we'll take this conversation offline. But yeah, initially I was thinking of asking this question post-event because it's quite a intimate issue of sorts. But I figured maybe if I were to ask it in an open manner, everyone can learn from it. But thanks for sharing your story. Interestingly enough, when you were sharing your story about how you were sending out flyers, you were doing deliveries and handling default orders and all that, that story totally resonated with me because I think about 3-4 years ago, I started my own home food delivery company. I started a brand from scratch. This was back in Singapore. I did my own. I set up my own call center because I couldn't find a call center provider that could meet my standards. I put together my own fleet of bikes. I designed a brand from scratch. I put together an entire menu thing. Was considering to do the Foodpanda route, but I figured if you cannot control the quality of the food and you outsource that part to other vendors, then you're going to compromise on the integrity of your product and eventually your brand. So we developed our own food product along the way. After burning through $1 million later of own money, the business, and also sort of entrusting the business to people that maybe I shouldn't trust it to. It failed rather dramatically and lost a lot of money. Lowest point in my life and all that kind of stuff. But I wish I had a rocket internet as my sugar daddy, right? Sorry, bad joke. So the point is, I think most of you guys here, myself included, when we think about a e-commerce idea or an online idea, we think about typically lead generation model, meaning user type A, product B, user type B, and how do you match them together? That's essentially what Groupon and to a certain extent what Foodpanda is. And of course, a two-sided marketplace like that is one of the hardest to build. It takes a lot of investment from every imaginable type of investment. So my question is, how do you guys build out the supply and demand side? Which do you prioritize first, and how do you grow that, together over time? And of course, the next natural question would be a related question. Not trying to ask too much question here. Is how does Groupon aggressively onboard merchants? Because the way you guys just onboard number of products and merchants is just insane, right? So that would be the question I want to ask. So, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, very, very true. Delivering food yourself, it's a pain. And for information, our call center is actually still in-house. We don't outsource it out. Same reason, because if it's in-source, we actually in the office with the call center agents. So if we see there's any complaints, we actually go straight to the call center agents to get them to sort things out. So your question earlier was supply and demand, right? For us in Foodpanda, I think it's more of the supply because from what we see, getting in good restaurants would ultimately equal more customers. Simply because if you have people like Cha Time, people like Gongcha on board Foodpanda, you have so many fans who actually line up for those items, and if we have it on our site to be delivered, the people will come, right? It's just a natural progression of that. But I think for a delivery company, for us, it's a bit more difficult in the sense that we also need to have the manpower to cope with the demand. Because as I mentioned earlier, when we started out, we had crazy distances and that didn't really turn out well. So for us, it's also that, right? Scaling up to having sufficient riders to manage certain demand in a certain area and getting in good vendors on our site. So to us, that's very important. And I think end of the day is actually to share the value proposition to the restaurants to see that when you are on Foodpanda as a restaurant, you get reoccurring customers because these people like your food anyway. If you're a new restaurant, you get to tap on the database of other customers that like the similar sort of food. So as I say, you like pizzas. We have people like Papa John's and Canadian Pizza on board. So if you are a small pizzeria joining us, you would basically tap on the base of people who have ordered from Papa John's or Canadian Pizza. And it's reoccurring orders, it's not just a one-time off thing. And to us, we view this as a long-term relationship. So unlike a deal site where it's just a one-off thing, ours is more a long-term relationship.
I think on the supply and demand side, I want to cheat and say both. But if you're going to be partial to one and you're starting off, it has to be supply first. Because demand, I mean, you're going to pay for it in general and to visit your website or to download the app, right? And whenever a customer comes in and sees nothing in the store, they will never come back. So I think it's key that before you even open your stores, you got to stock it up. So I think on the supply side, you need to have like a critical level of items for sale or stuff to view before you can even start considering spending money to get the demand in. Like for example, I can share with you a model by Zomato. Zomato is like one of the, it's similar to Yelp, whereby they have a listing of all the available restaurants in a particular city and they allow customers to rate it. So how Zomato starts up is very aggressive. They need to get 95% of all the restaurant listings available in the city before the website even launches. And I think that's like the key, that's the KPI before they can even launch a particular city that they have. I think that's critical because once you go online and you experience the site and you see that, hey, I actually can't find anything over here, then the customer is hooked, and that particular spend that you have to get the customer in can turn into long-term benefits or longer-term ROI. And I think if you're partial to one, in summary, you have to build a supply first. And on the related question on onboarding merchants, I think back when we first started off, it was a manual process. We had lots of calls and whatever. So I think eventually, as we grew, we knew exactly what our merchant concerns were. We knew exactly what we have to address from the get-go. And those are the items that we have moved up to automate, which means that we have tons of DIY stuff available. So merchants immediately can, onboard themselves when they actually sign up to do a Groupon deal. But you can never eliminate a human touch. So they will always have a phone number they can call, regardless of whatever time it is, or if they always have any concerns. And that's why we have actually a post-sales team, or what we call partner managers, people that would receive calls or communicate with our merchants whenever they have an issue. So it's more about eventually you will understand common trends. Over 100 merchants, 70 will have the same problem. I think it's to figure out what the problem is, how do you solve it, and how do you make sure that A, the merchants don't have that kind of problem anymore, or B, they know about it beforehand and they know what to do about it, even before you tell them. So that's what we're doing right now.
I'm holding the mic, so I think the next question is mine. Rashidi, you mentioned earlier about your strategic partnership with Maybank. I'm sure that was when Groupon was already well established, your brand was already well established. Now, when you're building your brand, how do you approach these people because you're still building your brand and you still want to go and do strategic partnership. So can you just give us your experience? Thank you.
I think you have to sell a promise. I think eventually if you have not much to sell and everything to gain, it's really about the ability for you to really do hardcore sales, right? So I think what we did back then was to really firstly identify the correct people to make a pitch to. So I think we realized for us to do something as big as this, we need to be talking to the head of consumer, head of MMTU and stuff like that. Otherwise, it will never fly. Okay. And secondly, for us, what do we need to do to get into a meeting or presentation with these kind of guys? I think it's to really sell a huge promise so that they'll be interested to at least listen. So I think once you get the interview and you get to be able to pitch to them, once you get the locked in, that's like one foot into the door. And after that, you have to really sell that promise and really think of it as like whenever you present to these guys, is what have they got to gain? Not so much about what Groupon is or what we are, whatever. I mean, this is a small part of the business, but the majority of the pitch should be, what is in it for Maybank. And I think once they have that buy-in, it will be automatic. So it's just really aggressively understand or think of it from everyone's perspective. What do they want? Or they want customer loyalty, they want more people to transact on your MTU. How can we structure something that will interest them so that they'll be more than willing to accept this kind of a partnership? Right, thanks.
Hi. May I know what are your value proposition that you offer to your merchants when you first started out building this thing? Like both of you. As well as how do you sustain yourself in the first, like the business model in the first place when you first building this thing?
I think Groupon's value proposition is at least in the beginning, is quite straightforward. We have the ability to get a lot of customers into a store within a short time frame. So I think if you can tell a merchant, hey, do you want 1,000 customers next month? No merchant will say no. So I think once they are hooked to that or they buy into the idea of getting a lot of customers in fast, and then we tell them, hey, you get a discount, otherwise we can't get customers in, and we are a service provider, so we have to pay us a little bit. So I think that's how we entice our customers to do that.
What if before you have the numbers?
Sorry?
Before you have the numbers, I mean the buyers or the users, how do you, you can't tell them that you get 1,000 visits every day or 1,000 orders before you got the numbers, right?
Okay, I think initially we don't have the numbers, but I think our model is a bit unique, where there's no upfront fee. So in a sense, your merchants actually lose nothing if we don't sell, right? So I think that's how we build our supply. Is the ability for us to sell, hey, just try us out. You got nothing to lose. If we sell one voucher, you get one customer, well done for you. And I think initially, how we pitched was that we had to hit a critical mass before the deal goes live. So that was our old business model, right? So we tell them, if you don't get 1,000 buyers, then you don't have to service even one, and we'll refund our customers. So I think that really helped us grow in the initial phase. Then eventually we realized that this thing is not valid anymore, which is why we did away with it. But that was actually the key thing that we did in the initial stage, to pretty much guarantee a selected amount of number of customers to come into the store. So if we said the critical mass is 100, so if you don't sell 100 vouchers, we'll refund everything. You don't even have to serve one customer. So at least that gives some form of a safety net for merchants to understand, hey, okay, they probably can sell 100, otherwise I don't have to pay them anything.
So the original business model was just to get commission from them.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Is there any, let's say through advertising, through the numbers, or do you guys use advertising at all to sustain in the first place?
Definitely. In online business, your holy grail is your site traffic. And I think once you get a huge amount of traffic, then you work on your conversion, right? So your traffic amount in the early stage is if no one knows about your website, you really have to start building that. And I think the best way to do it is we have to start targeting or to do online marketing as well. So we did everything, SEM, SEO, display, social media, all this kind of stuff, to really target or to really entice people to actually log into Groupon or subscribe to Groupon and understand what value proposition we have. And once they come in and there's the traffic to our store, that's when we're able to market the deals that we have with merchants to the customers as well. So it's really securing the deals, the supply, and also at the same time getting customers to walk into the store or to actually visit our site. Otherwise, if it doesn't happen concurrently, then merchants won't even come.
Excuse me, hi, sorry, you're a bit short.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sorry.
I think for us, the value proposition is pretty simple. Imagine you're a restaurant, right? You have 10 tables, right? So once the 10 tables are filled, that's it. You can't accommodate the 11th guy that comes in. The best you can do is just ask him to tapao. But your chefs are having a ball of a time in the kitchen, because once they cook for the 10 tables, then they just relax. And materials and all that, that's a fixed cost. So in Foodpanda, we are here to eliminate that problem. We are actually extending your reach of the customers to radius of 3 to 5 kilometers from the restaurant. So it's not just at the restaurant. People within the 3 to 5 kilometer radius actually get to order the food from your restaurant. So it's pretty simple, and our model is pretty simple. We just charge a commission from the restaurant based on the total sales that we make. So similarly, like Groupon, there is no initial startup fee, joining fee, or any subscription. We even pay for marketing in the restaurant itself. as well. So I mean, it's only to our best purpose, that our best interest, that we actually get the sale for you, basically. So it's more of a cost per action sort of deal with the restaurant and zero risk.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Excuse me. Okay, just one question. Thank you so much for all the tips that you've given us on what worked. But we, as startups, I think there's a lot of people who are blindly going around testing a lot of things. Maybe you can share on what are the common mistakes or some of the biggest mistakes that you all have taken. That maybe you all thought like, whoa, this is gonna work, but actually it fell flat. Things like that that actually might be able to help a lot of startups avoid. Yeah, for both of you. Thanks.
So I think Rafiq actually mentioned earlier that it's about inventory, right? We started out with just 40 restaurants, 80% nobody knew what they were. So when we started flyering, obviously people went into the site. We noticed like traffic going in, but a high bounce rate because like what restaurants are these, man? It's like I don't even know what are they, and I'm not going to order this. I don't really know who are they. And yeah, I mean, and that was one. Also, initially we pushed out the Foodpanda branding very strongly, but end of the day, nobody knows who Foodpanda is when you started. So it's like, who is Foodpanda? Why the hell should I go to your site? But when we actually turn it around to say that, char time delivery or TGI Fridays delivery, it's a different story. Everyone knows what char time is, what TGI Fridays is. So that proposition would make people, okay, so they do deliveries, and to order I need to go to the Foodpanda site. So I think, getting your act together, as I told you earlier, when we first started out, we had lots of operational problems. So initially I think we had quite a boost. A lot of people were saying that, wow, this is something new and stuff like that. But that also came with a price. A lot of people who started out had a bad experience, and we had lots of bad word of mouth. A lot of people saying that hey, these people took 3 hours to deliver my food, and sushi turned out very differently from what I see in the picture. Well, we had stuff like that happening. So I guess getting the whole act together, the whole operations, and getting a right inventory before actually investing a lot in marketing, I would think that would be the key takeaway for us.
I think Groupon, we've had a fair share of things that we could, if we could take back, we'll do it. But I think that the key learning from it is that, and this is Karaman, our CEO's favorite quote, is that don't let our problems be the customer's problems. So I think that's like a key takeaway for me as well, because usually when we screw up, it is not because it is because we have an internal policy that tells us, oh, we can't do this or that or whatever, right? Or there's certain things that, or we usually do this. This is a random request, we're not going to do it. But I think we always have to think about it from the customer's perspective. So sometimes we have our own way of doing things, but if we have to customize it to meet whatever our customers want or merchants want, we have to change it. And I think that's like a key learning, is that we always have internal policies, internal way of doing things, SOPs, blah blah blah. But that shouldn't be a reason why we disappoint our customers. It should never ever be the reason. I think that's like a key learning that I've learned over the past few years or so.
Thank you. Just a simple question. Explain what is pivot and how to pivot.
Sorry?
Can you repeat that? Explain what is pivot and how to pivot. Pivot.
Oh, okay. In what context, I'm sorry?
In Groupon?
Pivot.
Did Groupon pivot before?
Pivot a business model. Yeah. Okay, so we're actually in the midst of one of our biggest pivots in our business model right now, which is to be super mobile centric. So I think it's really, in e-commerce, you see customers' preferences change extremely quick, and it happens, sometimes, behind the scenes that you don't even notice it unless you're actually looking for it. But once it happens, then, you have to understand that this is what customers are going for, and, can we change the customers? No. Can we change ourselves? Yes. So we work on the controllables, and since the only thing we can change is ourselves, means that we have to pivot whatever business that we have right now to meet whatever customer demands are. So I think right now we notice that 60% of our traffic to our site or to our platform is via mobile, but only 35% of our sales is via mobile. We have an awful conversion rate on mobile, and I think if we really understand why, you'll notice that our mobile page and our mobile app might not be the best experience you can have to actually look for Groupon deals. So I think that's like the thing we're trying to fix right now, is to really pivot our business to be more mobile centric and to think of our company as a mobile first company. To see how do we optimize for mobile first and desktop second. Like an example, for one of the top group buying sites or deal sites in the world would be Meituan, which is based in China. So Meituan generates 85% of their sales on mobile. And I think that's why they're like a multi-billion-dollar organization as well. Which means that this is where the trend is. It's happening across the world. And I think if we don't pivot and we shop sendiri, do desktop stuff, I think eventually we will fail. So yeah, right?
I think for us, I shared earlier, when we first started out, it was supposed to be just an aggregator site, which means that we are just the middleman. We just get customers, do marketing online. They order from restaurants that have their own delivery. We pass it over to restaurants that have their own delivery, and they do the delivery. So all we do is we just spend our money marketing online and offline to our site. That's it. We don't have any delivery riders. But as it turns out, when we first started, as I mentioned, we just had 40 restaurants, out of which people didn't know 80% of it. So we started getting our own riders. So that was, I think, a major pivot for us.
I have a question for both of us. Basically, both of the companies are actually funded by large, I would say, national corporations, right? So, like for example, so you have like a lot of marketing budgets to begin with, right, during your initial stage. But what about a new startup who has no budget per se? So, what are the avenues that they can actually use to, to get more leads and so on?
So I think it's like, yes, when we were group small before acquisition, there was, we had like one angel investor, and I think the big investment came after Groupon acquired group small, and that's when the marketing budget kicked in as well. But I think what people didn't know is that 6 months after acquisition, Groupon Malaysia became profitable, and they've been self-funding ever since. So Groupon Malaysia has never took 1 cent out of our parent company in terms of our funding. So I think it has been self-sustainable since the beginning. I think one way to do it is to really understand or to optimize our spend, and to really understand in terms of hiring, what kind of profiles you want to hire and how fast you want to scale. So when you scale up costs, you have to scale up your sales or your top line at least 3 times. And because if you don't do that, then you'll know that, hey, I will run out of cash or burn out my cash pretty quickly. So I think that's the model that we did. But I think our business model is a bit unique as well. It was, we had a very strong value proposition, and that's why we were able to grow sales very fast. So for every dollar we were putting into marketing when we were first starting off, we were generating 5 to 6 ringgit in sales. I think that really helped us to become self-sustainable very, very quickly. But I think in terms of small startups, I think Malaysia is a country where it's quite unique in a sense where we have a lot of avenues of funding exclusive of government. So I think it's really, but I think and I've met with a lot of them. I think one of the major problems is that, to be fair, they feel that there's not enough companies in Malaysia to invest in. So they have tons of money, but they don't know who to give this money to. And I think the main problem is because they don't see a strong monetization model. So I think for startups to actually get funding, all of you need to understand or to have a clear view of what their monetization model is and how soon can you actually get back your ROI. Because like any investor, you don't want to see your money go to waste, but you need to be able to believe that, hey, one, the model is right, and two, the team is right. I think every investor looks at these 2 things, Firstly, what is the model? Will it work? Does it have promise? And secondly, who are the people behind this particular model? Do I believe that they can actually do it or not? And if you pass both of these tests, in general, I'm quite positive that you'll get your funding in Malaysia right now. So there's tons of avenues.
I think for us, it's no secret that we actually backed by Rocket Internet, but as you can see that our venture is actually the smaller cousin from Zalora and Lazada. You don't see us in billboards, you don't see us in TV screens or radio. We don't have that much marketing budget as per what people think. So I think we still spend money very judiciously. I mean, we really count our pennies in terms of even printing. I mean, if you see that, you know, we really, what do you call that? Really measure what we actually do. So I think what would actually work for us is actually to track whatever channels that we actually do marketing with. So partnerships, leveraging on partnerships is very powerful. So I think even in Groupon sense, right? I think leveraging partnerships with Maybank, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, as for us, I mean, when we started credit card payments and stuff like that, we started working with banks, started working with telco companies. Stuff like this, I mean, you need probably an investment in terms of your infrastructure, but in terms of the partnership, as long as the other partner can see value where you come in, I think that, you know, you can actually grow by bootstrapping. So for a startup, I think one, really track, like, you know, what are the sources. The easiest way for us to track is via voucher codes. So we actually have a different voucher code for different ways that we acquire customers, and from there we actually know what works, and we spend more on what actually works. Besides that, yeah, partnerships, having really good partnerships with other bigger and larger brands, that really helps. Yeah, thanks.
So unfortunately, due to time constraints, we have to stop our question and answer session here. However, do stick around. You can ask all your other questions to the speakers at the end of the event later. So anyways, once again, great big thanks for Sidney Ng and Rafiq Razali for being our speaker tonight.